Ryan Day just let everyone know at Big Ten Media Days that he has finally let go of Ohio State's offense and Arthur Smith is really running it. Now, that is great offseason talk. We'll see what happens, what kind of things look like during the season, but it sure does sound like Ryan Day is looking to be the head coach that he was once again back in 2024, who is still an offensive coach, mind you, and still going to have opinions, but is going to be the support his offensive coordinator needs and not the head coach who is holding on to nervous, somebody else is calling my plays, look at them week to week type of thing. I mean, judge for yourself though. Listen to what Ryan Day said at Big Ten Media Days. He said Arthur Smith gives Ohio State a different perspective, a different approach to scheme and game planning, and this is the most important part, Smith's resume allows Day to focus on the responsibilities only the head coach can handle instead of being involved with quarterback and play calling with more than he kind of needs to be at that point. That's not normal coordinator language from somebody who called plays most of the time as a head coach in his career at Ohio State. That is Ryan Day describing a real transfer of control. So in this episode, I'm going to show you why this is more than just another coordinator title, what Smith is being trusted to control, and the moment that will prove whether Day has truly changed and is willing to trust Arthur Smith. Because the real test will not come when Ohio State is up by 40 in a game. They're, 60 to, actually be up more than 40 at that point. It will come when the offense struggles and Day has to decide whether to trust Arthur Smith or grab the wheel again. I'm John with BuckeyeHuddle.com, where you'll find deep Ohio State coverage, elite recruiting intel, and none of the toxic noise. Let's get into this episode. So here is what's going on. Ryan Day did not describe Arthur Smith as just some fresh set of play calls he's going to have and he can run what, Ryan Day has been running. No, he described him as a fresh operating system. Day acknowledged that Ohio State's offense has largely stayed within the same family for 9 years. It was adjusted and around different players, but its structures, player language, and problem solving all came from the same offensive world, and that world was Ryan Day's world, which, let's be honest, has proven to be one of the best in the country. Nobody is saying that Ryan Day doesn't have a good offense. Nobody's saying Ryan Day can't produce a good offense. That does not make the offense irreplaceable, though, right? Ohio State produced elite quarterbacks, first-round wide receivers, championship performances, but success does not guarantee you are evolving fast enough to stay ahead of elite defenses. Day appears to understand that difference now and is eyeing a transition from Ryan Day to Arthur Smith. And transitioning from Ryan Day to Arthur Smith as the primary offensive architect shift, I mean, you could say play caller, but I think it's more involved than that. And he's the primary, architect, I think is probably the right word, shifts Ohio State from a spread pass-first system to a physical, pro-style offense anchored in the run game. Under Day, the Buckeyes traditionally relied on standard shotgun formations, prioritizing heavy vertical passing trees, perimeter speed, and space creation to attack defenses over the top. Conversely, Smith brings an NFL-style under-center mentality that heavily utilizes 12 personnel packages. That's when you feature 2 tight ends and 1 running back to establish a bruising wide zone rushing identity. This shift aims to make Ohio State much tougher and more efficient at line of scrimmage adjustments, balancing their explosive perimeter weapons with a physical ground game capable of wearing down elite modern defenses. Day discussed what makes hiring Arthur Smith so valuable to him in the program heading into 2026. He said, quote, Smith, talking about Arthur Smith here, will bring immediate value to our program and was exactly what we were looking for. And that's the end of the quote there. We can know for sure that the passing attack will also look fundamentally different in a number of ways, maybe not every way, but a number of ways, because you're trading Day's traditional spread to run concepts for Smith's heavy structure, play action based vertical passing game. That's not to say that Day's style and ideas will be completely gone and it won't be there at all. He's still the head coach. He still has things that he wants to implement and he wants his offensive coordinator to have at play, but it will be different. While Day's system focused on creating isolation matchups to exploit mismatches a lot of the time, Smith utilizes dense intermediate crossing routes and tight end targets, layering directly over heavy run fakes, kind of like some of the mesh stuff that Ryan Day has run in the past. But of course, all of this is subject to be decided on the field. And my feel for it is that Ryan Day did not hire Arthur Smith to stand next to him and suggest a few plays. He hired him because Ohio State needed somebody with enough credibility to challenge the entire offensive system. Day said the offense had basically lived in the same family for 9 years. It changed around the edges, but the core perspective remained familiar. Then he said Smith brings a different approach to scheme and game planning, and that Smith's resume allows Day to not have to be involved with the quarterback and play calling as much as he needed to be. This is the giveaway, right? This is not Ryan Day saying Arthur Smith will help me. This is not Ryan Day saying Arthur allows me to be the head coach whenever I feel like it. No, this is him saying Arthur will allow me to be the head coach all of the time. There will still be a collaboration. Of course, Day will still give feedback, but Smith appears to have something previous coordinators did not always have: the authority to run the operation instead of simply working inside Ryan Day's operation. And that creates the biggest question of Ohio State's season. When the offense has trouble, will Day trust the man he hired, or will he take it back? Let me know what you think will happen in the comments below, and like the video, or if you're on podcast, give us a 5-star rating and review. That always helps as well. So all of that is the first major distinction. Arthur Smith is not being brought in to erase Ryan Day's football knowledge or anything like that. All right, Ryan Day has forgot more about football than you and I will ever know. He is being brought in to free Day from having to personally process every offensive problem, similar to how it was when Chip Kelly was in there, right? And it totally makes sense, not only from the winning the national championships perspective in 2024, but if you also think about it like owning a business while still personally working your day job. You might be great at your day job, but you are never going to fully manage the operations of your business if you're also trying to do your day job, or if you're also trying to do a job that you previously had. You have to hire people to do those things so you can focus on the big picture, the owning the operation that is required. Ohio State football now includes roster management, revenue sharing, recruiting, portal retention, staff management, non-stop changes all over the place. And honestly, if Day was calling plays in 2024, who knows if he would have even gotten on Jim Knowles to change the defensive schemes like he needed to after the Oregon game. Look, I'm not saying we have to worry about that with Matt Patricia this year, but you never know what will come up in the season and what will need to be addressed in the middle of the year. Day said he must handle the things only the head coach can handle. That statement sounds exactly like 2024. Fans often debate play calling as though every problem starts with 1 third down selection. Sometimes that's fair, right? But also, we can acknowledge sometimes that's lazy. The bigger issue is with bandwidth. Could Ryan Day oversee the entire program at the level Ohio State requires while still living inside the quarterback room and carrying the emotional weight of every offensive call, the strategic decision making of every single call? His answer now appears to be no, and he acknowledges that. And he knows that from going from 2024 to 2025, when I think there was much more play calling by him going going on than what he alluded to. Not because he's incapable, but because the job has become too large for that arrangement to be optimal. And we know this by the history and how college football has changed. I mean, since Jimbo Fisher led Florida State to a national title in 2013, no college football team with an offensive play calling head coach has won the national championship. Modern championships have instead favored defensive-minded leaders or the CEO-style head coaches who delegate the script to dedicated coordinators they can trust. You're looking at head coaches like Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart, Kirk Cignetti, Urban Meyer, right? All of these guys captured titles by overseeing the entire operation, the CEO style type of thing, the entire roster, rather than burying their heads in an offensive playbook. When a head coach insists on calling the offense, the immense time commitment of designing schemes, analyzing film, and managing in-game adjustments directly takes away from broader program oversight. This shift has become mandatory because the job of a head coach is getting increasingly more complicated in the modern game of college football. Modern leaders must manage the transfer portal, revenue sharing, travel, expanded playoff logistics, all of these crazy things. Instead of just drawing up plays, a coach's functions like a corporate executive who must constantly recruit their own roster, manage multi-million-dollar donor funds, and navigate the conference realignment when it comes. Trying to balance these non-football responsibilities while spending hours trying to perfect the third down passing script has proven to be an unsustainable formula for winning championships, right? I mean, Steve Sarkisian is really the only one I think of off the top of my head that has won a playoff game and is an offensive, play calling head coach. And that's what makes Smith so valuable. Smith has been an NFL head coach and called plays at the highest level. Day clearly believes he does not require constant supervision. Day said he was not going to turn the offense over to just anybody. That might be one of the strongest sentences that he said in this entire story. It tells you trust was the deciding qualification. Ohio State did not simply just need an offensive mind. It needed somebody Ryan Day could leave alone, could trust with his baby, the offense, to get that working well. Now, that does not mean Smith gets unlimited power. Day also made it clear that Smith will share his perspective, right? Day will provide feedback, and they will choose what gives Ohio State the best chance to win. All those things, that is healthy and that is good. The goal is not to remove the head coach from the offense altogether. The goal is to keep the head coach from becoming the entire offense or your emergency button you have to hit if the offensive coordinator is not doing his job well every Saturday. In the first place we see the difference is in tempo, which Ryan Day talked about at Big Ten Media Days. Ohio State played at a methodical pace the last two seasons. Day admitted there were times when the Buckeyes could have potentially handled that differently, but he also said we also won a national championship this way. So to him, it's all about efficiency, but he also pushed back against the idea that faster is automatically better because, again, efficiency was the goal, not necessarily only slowing the game down. Smith has compared tempo to pitching in baseball. You do not throw the fastball every pitch. You change speeds, you disrupt timing, you prevent the opponents from getting comfortable. So the 2026 offense may not be so much fast or slow, it may be intentionally unpredictable for the opponent to guesstimate against. You see, the most misunderstood thing about Ohio State's new offense is that the tempo is not really about playing fast. It's about proving Arthur Smith has control of the game. The last two seasons, the Buckeyes were methodical. This year, Day and Smith have talked about changing speeds, slow the game down when control helps you, then suddenly get in line, get the pace up, prevent substitutions, force the defense to communicate under pressure, all those things. That's not cosmetic. That's not stuff you just do to make it look better. It changes who controls the game. A defense wants time to identify personnel, make checks, get comfortable, get themselves in the right situation so they can see what the offense is doing. Smith's idea is to remove that comfort without turning Ohio State into a reckless hurry-up team for 4 quarters, and here is why that matters for Ryan Day. If the offense begins changing pace based on Smith's feel for the game, that is visible proof that Ohio State State is operating through a new play caller's instincts instead of simply attaching Smith's name to Day's old system. The question is not, will Ohio State snap the ball faster? The question should actually be, will the offense finally change personalities during a game similar to what we saw them do in the 2024 playoffs? Will they have the control to be able to do that? Because they did not have the control to be able to do that against Miami, and they didn't have the control to do that as much against Indiana either. So do you like the potential tempo change with Ohio State's offense in 2026? Let me know in the comments and like the video for me so we can get you more content like this. Personally, I feel like this could affect every part of the unit. Changing tempo can create more opportunities for a deep running back room and receivers beyond Jeremiah Smith. Heavy personnel can trap a defensive matchup. Julian Sayin can gather information early and then operate quickly or slow the game down, but there is a risk to all of this as well. Playing faster can create alignment and protection issues. This is not merely an energy upgrade. Smith must install variety without creating chaos. And it is also a test of whether Day will accept an offense that may look different from the one he would personally design. Coaches do not struggle to delegate because they think their assistants are incapable or incompetent or anything like that. They struggle because they know exactly how they would solve the problem themselves, and they just want to do that. A lot of us have this same mentality in certain things of our lives that we feel like we're experts in, whether it's with our computers or our job or our family, whatever it might be, we feel like we're experts in it. So if we have the control of it, it will be done right. Day has spent years seeing offense through his own lens. Smith may want different personnel, different pacing, different answers. Can Day live with that? That is the open loop that will define the experiment in 2026. I mean, everybody trusts the coordinators when the offense is rolling, right? There won't be any major argument then. But the real evidence comes after a bad first quarter. It comes after 2 failed third downs. It comes after a couple 3 and outs that happen. It comes when Texas pressures Sayin, the run game stalls out at Ohio Stadium and people start to get nervous. Does Day remain the head coach mode at that point in time, or does he manage the full game, let Smith solve the offense, take a step back and say, I'm here if you need it, but I'm not gonna take everything over? Does he slowly move closer to the play sheet and take control over the conversations? That is not a personal criticism. It is human nature. But Ohio State hired Smith specifically to change the structure, and if he can do that, it bodes well for Ohio State in 2026. You will not know whether Ryan Day truly gave Arthur Smith the offense when Ohio State scores on its first 3 possessions or not. You will know after the first bad quarter, after the first few 3 and outs. That is when every coach's natural instincts come back, when the pressure is on. Ryan Day has built elite offenses. He knows what call he wants against a certain front. He knows how he would attack pressure, and when a game starts slipping, and it will, I mean that will happen at some point, it will be tempting to grab the wheel. But that is exactly why Arthur Smith was hired. Day said Smith's resume allows him to focus on the responsibilities only the head coach can handle. That arrangement only works if it survives the stress test. If Day takes back the offense the first time Ohio State struggles, then nothing really changed. Smith becomes another voice in Ryan Day's system, but if Day stays in head coach mode and lets Smith diagnose the problem, adjust the tempo, call his way out of trouble, then Ohio State may again have the structure it needs to win a national championship in 2026. So do not judge this handoff by the opening script against an overmatched opponent or anything like that. Judge it when the plan fails. That is when trust becomes real. And Ohio State cannot afford for 2026 to become one long experiment where trust happens in like week 9 or something like that, right? The offense returns Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, a 1,000-yard back, and Bo Jackson, and 4 starting offensive linemen. It may function early at Texas while a defense with new faces develops. So the handoff is not an off-season curiosity. It is a championship decision. If it works, Ryan Day becomes more valuable, not less valuable. He gets to manage the entire game instead of becoming trapped inside inside one side of the ball. He can challenge Smith without replacing him in real time. He can become a CEO. He can become the CEO Ohio State's modern program requires, like he did in 2024, while still using his offensive expertise as a resource. And Smith gets the ownership. Players know when a coordinator owns the plans, sets the identity, and lives with the consequences. That clarity truly does matter. The worst arrangement would be shared control with unclear accountability. Ohio State appears to be trying to avoid that, and we'll see if they can make it happen this season. So here's my final take on it all. Ryan Day has not abandoned Ohio State's offense. He's not completely out. He's not going to never be a part of it again. He has finally built a structure where the offense may no longer depend on his constant involvement, like it didn't have to have that in 2024. Arthur Smith is not replacing Ryan Day's football intelligence. He is giving Day permission to use that intelligence from the head coach's chair instead of from inside the play calling booth. But the title of this episode comes with one condition, right? Arthur Smith is really running Ohio State's offense only if Ryan Day lets him keep running it even when things get tough. That first bad quarter will tell us more than every offseason quote combined. If you want to learn more about the offense and what to expect from Arthur Smith's favorite position on the field, watch my video about that. It's here on the screen for you. You can check it out. Click that video, and I'll see you over there. If you're not on YouTube, no worries. I linked the video in the description below for you on the podcast. And that's all we got for this episode of the Buckeye Huddle podcast. Episodes every Sunday through Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll see you then. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.